The indigo children have the ability to bring through the memory and frequencies of consciousness that can help the races here learn how to block mind control that's done through electromagnetic. The indigo children are in danger until they wake up and realize fully who they are and start to realize how to protect their fields. Others were what we call the intruders. They're the visitors that are here because the other two intruder groups that are here, visitor groups, are trying to either body snatch them, which means get control of the neurological structure. When I was very, very small, I would sleep from infancy on. I would often sleep with my eyes wide open. Some of the first things I would say was I go to sleep, still have my eyes open, be in the crib, and I would be saying, the angels are coming to take me away, they're coming to take me home, and I'd be talking to myself. And they used to terrify her. Sometimes she said I would wake up terrified that they were going to come and get me, because some of the angels aren't good guys. My mother had said to me once, she said, you know, when I started talking about ETs, she said, I always wondered how you came to be when you did, because there was no way humanly possible you could have. Here I am talking about all sorts of really wild, wonderful ideas. Every one of us has this memory. And this is why I said, if you can remember your field integration, you can remember where you came from. I'm living proof that all the things you hear about life after death are absolutely and positively true. And every one of you has memory. It's stored in what's called your cellular memory. It's in your DNA. It's unplugged right now. We're in this together. We're all in this together. And every one of you in this room has the ability to activate your sixth strand and higher. It was more normal for me to be dealing with aliens than dealing with humans here. The movement is becoming a very scary place because there are efforts being made right now to ensure that it divides, to make sure that they cannot unify under an understanding. It's being infiltrated, and that's one of the agendas that we'll talk about as we go along. Electromagnetic pulse technologies can be very specifically targeted, and they can disrupt the heart rhythms, which means they can induce heart attack. They can disrupt the natural biorhythms, which means they can create cancer. This is the power that is now in the hands of our Illuminati government guys. And it wouldn't have been in the hands of them if the Zetas hadn't given it to them between the 1930s and present. So there's a lot of really weird things going on with our Illuminati government guys. And it wouldn't have been in the hands of them if the Zetas hadn't given it to them between the 1930s and present. So there's a lot of really weird things going on. But again, if you know how to do the heart seal, if you get these techniques moving in your field, those EMP technologies are not going to work on you. They can beam at you all they want, but those frequencies in your field will buffet it. Okay, this was when I was 4 years old. I was playing out in the driveway of my aunt's trailer, and broad daylight, a little gray thing came up behind me. This was one of the negative ones. I had a little silver rod and a wavy rod. Before I could run or scream, I was in that freeze frame state, and I was taken up into up high. Can you slow that down a little bit? Because there's a thing up there. Yeah, way up above. There was this big black triangle type ship that you could see up above the clouds, and I was literally levitated up. That's when the negative abduction started. That was the first physical negative abduction, and they got worse. These are some of the type of beings you'll meet with the Zetas. See these insect type ones over there on the left of the screen? They're called Zeta Arcanus. They're a type of the Zeta races. Everybody seems to think that it knows about Zetas, that they're just the little gray guys, and they know that there's some shorter ones and some taller ones. At age 12, I had one of the strangest abductions I've ever had. It was a negative one, but there were no ETs involved. I came out on my porch because I saw lights. It looked like lights coming. It was like very late at night. It looked like lights on the snow or the field out in the country. So I went out to see what it was, and I got grabbed as I walked out the door, one person on each side, and something went over my mouth, and I believe it was chloroform because I was out. I woke up, and I was in a military type facility again. I'd been taking military bases that had lots of Zetas running around. But this was different. I was in a military facility in what looked like a hospital, and I was restrained. And there were human doctor type people coming in, like giving me shots and these kind of things. And then I was dragged into this one area and interrogated. And that's what's being shown here. And they had given me some type of drug, and they were trying to get me to tell them I don't even know what, I still don't know what, probably about the good guys, because they knew I was actively being contacted and taken on the other side. That was the only abduction I'd ever had that had no aliens in it. They were all military type humans. They were started having my run-ins with what I call the Zeta covert government. This is a portion of the human governments that happen to be of a specific hybrid race line from way back in the ancient times. They're called the reptilians. Before that, they made treaties with the government, with portions of our government that I call the secret government. And they have been running abductions, and they have been running hybridization and cloning programs as part of a one world order takeover agenda. I would have the negative ones abduct me and they do the medical experiments, and they were using my genetic material for hybridization programs and things, and they were trying to put me under mind control. They were trying to take down the DNA, so I didn't remember, and so they could get me under their influence. I had years of literally 5-6 times a week being taken places. It's an electromagnetic pulse technology that allows them to hit with frequency certain parts of the brain that literally cause the motor skills to stop functioning. If you've ever had abductions where you find yourself freeze-framed, you can't move. Maybe your eyes can move and your brain can move and you want to scream, but you can't. This is part of this technology that's used by the Zetas, and it's also used by the interior government. Okay, so I had a lot of those running. If you had invisible friends that were really there, psychic abilities tend to be one of the key factors for indigo children. Think about, were you extra sensitive to certain things? Even things like electromagnetic fields. Does it bother you to stand next to photocopiers? Do you get kind of sick? I mean, there's a lot of little things that can indicate if you have a gene code that qualifies as a hybrid strain. And it's not something to be afraid of, it's something to be glad in. It just means you're a little bit ahead of the game as far as evolution. It doesn't mean you're better than other humans that don't have that. With indigo children, they're born with the 6th strand activated in the 12-strand pattern. They have strand 6, part of strand 5, part of strand 4 is dormant, and then they have the usual strand 3, 2, and 1 that everybody else has active. You would not have three-dimensional consciousness if you did not have 3 strands of DNA activated. This is my contact history. It starts here, 1964 when I was born. I was born conscious, which means I was aware of myself as an energy essence that came into the body, that rooted into the first 8 cells that are at the base of the spine. I know what level of my consciousness I put in which cell, and I remember bobbing in and out of the body through the whole time until the body was grown, because I didn't particularly have a bond with my mother. So there is an experience called fetal integration that is present. There's a whole argument between science and religion. Does life exist beyond the body after death? If it exists before death, it exists after death. You have a memory of who you were in other space-time frames. What's really neat is it's happening simultaneously. It is time and simultaneous. So when we talk about reincarnation, it's not just you died in one life and came into another. It's you as a soul simultaneously manifested yourself into several different space-time locations, and each one of them has a track of time in linear motion that they will run. This means you can make a conscious, living memory link now between you and your other selves and start communicating between them. I'm able to do this. I remember many of my selves, and I did all through childhood. And it made it a little confusing, because at first I thought everybody else remembered too. And I found out very quickly that they didn't, because I would remember people that I knew in other contexts. And it just wouldn't throw me at all. It was very heartbreaking until I hit about 1st grade. Then I learned to deal with it and just not try to engage them here. The things that I have been privileged to use, these scalar mechanics that I talk about, the bioregenesis to get the DNA reactivated so you can remember who you were, these are precious. And people don't know about them. So if I can share the level of knowledge that I have, and it can help you find those things in yourself, it's worth me getting out here. She didn't remember contact. She remembers having strange time distortion. There were ETs that I was in contact with, ones that were out of my family matrix, my matrix of consciousness, which is the because I was messing with people that they really shouldn't be messing with people. And because they are after a certain type of hybrid called an indigo child, which I was born as, they were trying to get control of my body since the time I was an infant. There are many indigo children here at this point. There are actually 500,000 indigo children among the populations. They started about 100 years ago coming in. So they can direct them where they want, or if they want to get rid of them, exterminate them, because magnetic pulse technologies. So they know the indigo children are a threat. to the one world order agendas. So we could telepath. I found I could hear her thoughts and she could hear mine too. I didn't have that with anybody else. But these are some of the things that indigo children and some of the other hybrid strains of humans have. Where I started to get into trouble with intruders was through my father. Not directly, he was a great man. He also had a service record. He was a flyer, he was in the Air Force, and he happened to have a very rare blood type. He had AB negative. You know, it was also a flag blood type that tends to indicate something called the Grail lines in the human gene code. Blood lines that are associated with the crisis period and with the hybridizations that came through there. But it is knowledge within certain ranks of the government and within the Zeta forces, the little gray guys that are running around messing with us, that the fact that my father had that blood type put me on a hit list.